Welcome to another episode of the Astro Read. We are your hosts, Nayeli and Stella. This podcast is all about astrology, celebrity news, and how to use astrology in your everyday life.
Yes, everybody, and welcome back to our current subscribers, and hello to all our new viewers. I see we're really building up our audience. We're super excited for you to be here. If you are new to our channel, you know the deal. Go ahead and share this and let others know about our great topics. And of course, our goal is to get to 100 subscribers by the end of 2022 and beyond. So, as we continue to gain subscribers, this will allow us to continue making content and really helping you, with our comments, really help us, really help us to gain new perspective on what topics you'd like us to speak about. So, yeah.
Yeah, and today's episode is all about Rihanna, the real Rihanna. And there's lots, she's been in the news lately. She has announced, not really announced, she pretty much just put it out there that she's pregnant. And her and asaprocky are having a baby. So that's pretty much like the biggest news with Rihanna lately. And, this episode will just be an opportunity for us to get to know Rihanna. Like, who is the real Rihanna? She's, done so much in her career, started her career as a singer, and she has gone on to basically build an empire with her beauty brand, fentybeauty. And she also has her lingerie line. She's, I think, probably acted in at least one or two movies. Like, she's kind of done it almost all, right? And now she's going into her newest venture of becoming a mom. So, with this episode, we can dive in and see what kind of mom will Rihanna be, and, how is she in relationships, and are her and asaprocky a good match? Like, what made asaprocky the one that really, was able to enter this new phase with Rihanna and be the father of her child? So yeah, let's dig in. So as far as what kind of a mom Rihanna will be. I looked at her moon placement. I looked at her Ceres placement. So Ceres is the asteroid of nurturing and motherhood. So for anybody out there that's ever wondering about what kind of mother will you be, you can look at those, at your moon placement and your Ceres placement to kind of get an idea of how you will be in motherhood. And then for the guys out there, I forget what it would be. You can look at your Saturn, but we're focusing on the ladies for this episode, and we're focusing on Rihanna because that's. But what I find interesting is that with Rihanna, her she has a very interesting moon. She has a fiery moon in Aries. That is not for the faint of heart. You may, listening to some episodes, have realized that I have my bugaboo as far as like Venus and Gemini and how I feel about it. But bugaboo is moon in Aries. Like, mooninaries is a tough placement because it's like fiery emotions. And her moon is in the 12th house, but her moon is also next to her ascendant. So that means, she may be really emotional, but it can also show that things having to do with the moon, such as home and family, are really important to her. And so even though, she's waited until she's been in her 30s to have her first child, this is probably, her having a baby is quite a huge deal. She probably wanted to have a kid for like a really long time. And then she has Leo, the sign of, being a child at heart, on her 5th house, which is also, which is the house of children, right? So that's, just another sign in her natal chart that shows that, having children is something that she would be really interested in. She's probably a child at heart in some ways. Then she has the motherly sign of Cancer on her 4th house of home and family. So that's once again showing family is a huge influence for her, whether it's her own family that she has, with her siblings and her parents, or creating her own family. And then Vesta, the asteroid of focus, is in the sign of Cancer and in the 4th house. So that just shows there's, just like a huge focus and dedication. So this was really surprising to me, just because, Rihanna, she has this amazing career and she's been go, go, go and doing all these different things. But all along, she's had this strong desire. She's probably had this strong desire and focus to settle down and have a family, but she probably wasn't able to do it before because maybe it wasn't the right time, or her career was just too much in the forefront for her to really take that time. But now she's able to do it. And then Ceres, the asteroid of nurturing and motherhood, is in Aquarius in the 11th house. So even though, being a mother is probably super important to her. As far as what kind of mother she'll be, I think she'll be more of the unconventional mom. Like, I think she'll be the mom that wants her kid to be who they truly are, will be open-minded with how her kid is, will be very accepting, would be like a friend mom, like the cool mom, I think. So I don't think she'll be the disciplinarian or the strict mom. And then with the lifestyle she has, how could she be really? Like, she doesn't live a regular life. So, this is a big deal. Becoming a mother is a big deal for Rihanna, and she's making it come true.
Yeah.
It's great.
Finally. I mean, this has been a long time coming. I think the reason why she hasn't been a mom yet is mostly because Saturn was actually transiting her 10th house of career.
Oh.
And if you notice, she sort of downgraded as it was going through it. Like, she was shedding identities and building identities. So when it first happened, that Saturn went into Capricorn, I believe it was, or rather Saturn went into Sagittarius. She started expanding. She started Fenty. She started fentybeauty, Savage X, but she had a partnership with Savage X and another group I can't remember the name of, and it dissolved as the Saturn in Capricorn was happening. Now Saturn is in Aquarius opposite her 5th house, of children, and it's sort of challenging her to see where her career is going next. I think her 1st house, with all the planets that it has, with everything that's going on, she's a transformative person. She's not defined by one thing that she does, and she doesn't want to be. And honestly, she doesn't care that you're watching her. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, this is my life. I get to do what I want. I have enough money. Who cares? And luckily she's got Jupiter in the 1st house in Aries. So that means a lot of wealth will come to her. A lot of financial support will come to her. She'll always be lucky in what she transforms into. And now she gets to transform into a mom. I think she's going to have a really famous child. So that's what I think, that's the type of child she's going to raise, whether it's one child or 2 children that are happening. I'm not sure, just because, like you said, Ceres is in the 11th house, maybe multiple children. But I would say that the child is going to be either more famous than the mom, or as famous as the mom.
Wow.
Or as popular. Like, people might be like not obsessive about the child, but definitely like, oh my God, this child is so cute, and we're so excited that she had a baby. Like, they might focus on that a lot when he's a baby, but as he grows older, he might grow into maybe his career in music like his father, or his career obsession with fashion, just because he might also be born, I think she's 8 months now, or how many months was she? 6 or 7?
She's pretty far along, but I don't know how.
She's far along. I think he's going to be born under Taurus, if I'm not mistaken. If she's in her 7th or 8th month, or maybe even less, I think it would be less, because that would be May. So it's 2 months from now or 3 months from now.
Oh, so she's going to have her baby in May?
In Taurus, I'm pretty sure. Let me check.
What about if she has it on May 16th around the lunar eclipse?
I wasn't going to say it, but I was going to say
I have a feeling because she announced her pregnancy during this, Taurus Scorpio eclipse era that we're in, maybe she has. So wait, that's 2 months from now. Yeah, that's pretty reasonable. She looks far enough along where she would only have 2 months left. So
that would be awesome. She would be an awesome mom. She would be fun. She would be excited about having a kid. I think that was probably the challenge that she had in her last relationship, just because, it would have been Saturn square her Venus. And that's probably not a good position for it. And, it is what it is. She and her moon as well. Sorry, her Saturn square her moon. And so now she gets to have this opportunity when, everything is in sextile with her moon. Everything is sort of in balance, and she gets to really experience the joy with someone who's excited with her. Because that's something I can see from her and ASAP's relationship. They're very excited to be with each other. It's not because of fame. It's like because they like each other. They genuinely like each other, according to astrology. And it's like there's somebody, even if they don't end up being together forever, he's someone that she will be friends with. You know what I'm saying? He's somebody that she can see herself raising a child with. And that's probably what made her decision. just because Ceres is in the 11th house, like you said, right? He probably made that decision. Hey, is this a guy that I can see getting along with, even if we're not together?
Yeah.
And that's probably very high up in her like totem pole of all the things of having a child with someone. And it should be in everybody's interest. If you
Yeah.
are with someone who's not generous, who is not interested in children, and you want children, like, you're incompatible. Like,
Yeah.
give in and find someone who you think will be good to your children, will be kind to you, regardless of the status of your relationship. There's an underestimated sort of quality in relationships, which is generosity. If they can't be generous with their family and their friends, they're not going to do it for you either. So I think that's something that she really likes about asaprocky, that he's very generous, that he's very humble. And we'll get into the synastry later, but for her, I definitely think she's going to be a fun mom. Her child is probably going to be very famous, is going to generate more income for her, and
Wow,
she's
that's
going to
crazy to think.
Yeah, I think she's going to take her role very seriously.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And just because of where her mother placements are, like, it's going to be a child that is going to be public. It's going to be, even the way she announced it. Look at the way, like, very, like, audaciously, like,
just showing her belly, like, and it looked stylish. Like, her belly is her biggest fashion accessory. She recently was at I think some event for her beauty line with asaprocky, and she was wearing this nice green top, and it accentuated her belly. And now other celebrities are doing it. Like, now Shay Mitchell is showing her pregnancy belly. So Rihanna's trendsetter in her pregnancy. Like, she's just on the streets with her out, looking just, amazing. And that's a new trend. Everybody's gonna have their pregnant bellies out. That's just the way. Yeah.
For sure. And just following along the same, I think Kylie Jenner has been doing it too. She stopped dealing with, like, am I going to wear these pants or not? She just wore crop tops and left her belly out. Who cares?
That's true. Okay, so maybe Kylie started it first. I don't know, but
you know what I mean? It's very in fashion now. Like, we have a belly, we're mothers, like, and what is it? There's this idea, toxic masculine idea, that you depreciate in value as you become a mother, when in fact, if we thought of it the other way around, we would be maybe even helping the situation, helping mothers to accommodate, the lives that they are going to change into, transition into. She might be a good example of that as well, because she's a person who transforms very easily, who enjoys that part of her life. Like, I can be a director of a makeup line. I can be director of a fashion line. I can be a singer-songwriter. I can make an album when I want, and it will be popular, and I don't care how long it takes. You know what I'm saying? And she has that faith in herself, in her audience, and her fans. And I don't think there's an album coming out right now. I think we're going to have to wait probably when the child is older. I would say the child is going to be 5 by the time Saturn moves into Aries, and that's going to trigger all of her planets again, including Venus, which is, the symbol of music and things like that. So I think that's when we're going to get an album, probably 6 years from now.
Yeah, so I think a lot of her fans will be disappointed.
Well, sorry guys. I'm not a liar. I'm just an astrologer.
No, but I believe it. I think it's going to take her a while, because I mean, with her having a baby and she has so many other things going on, it's like, is she really going to have time to dedicate for an album? And, with Rihanna, if she's going to do an album, she's going to do an album. Like, she's just not going to release like a throwaway album. Like, if she does something, it has to be to the highest quality. So she's not going to sacrifice becoming a first-time mom, which is basically like the thing she's wanted her whole life, for an album that she could do a few years from now. Like, if it's wait, people are gonna wait. Rihanna, whenever she's come up with an album, it's been a massive hit. And she just knows what the public likes. So people will wait another 6 years. I mean, they will do it begrudgingly, but they'll do it. And in regards to Rihanna and her career, I think a lot of people wonder, okay, how does she go from becoming a singer to now this entrepreneur? She's all about beauty. She's got her Fenty beauty line that's been successful. She has her lingerie line. I think at one point she had her own like makeup artist agency. I don't know if she still has that, or if that's just like a partnership thing that she kind of has paid into and oversees. But, she's done a lot of different things. She's acted in a movie here or there. And, I think people wonder, okay, was she ever meant to do music ever? Or was that just her gateway to becoming famous? Like, is she a true musician? I
And Venus is in the first house, so I think you're right about that gateway message. Like
yeah.
music was always going to be the way she got into what she's going to do, but not necessarily what defined her. So
Yeah, exactly. I think, she has a nice voice. There's probably parts of her chart that show that she has the ability to be a good singer, but I don't think she's like a 24/7 musician. There's some musicians out there that they can't help but play a new song every single day because it's just innate in them. Like they have to do it. I don't think Rihanna is quite like that. Like I think she could sing. She's really pretty. She has really she has a challenging Venus placement as far as the fact that it's in Aries, but as far as where it is in her charts, with it being in the first house and then, Leo on the fifth and things like that, she's just meant to be a charming person. Like she draws people in. So, she was probably
Mercury in 11th house too. Mercury in 11th house of the
yeah.
people in Aquarius.
Yeah.
Like in an air sign. Mercury in an air sign period is good, but in Aquarius in the 11th house, it's like fame, communicating on a world scale, communicating to other people, being a vision in whatever industry you go into, and she's redefined everything. You know what I mean? She redefined, the lingerie industry. She redefined the makeup industry. She redefined the music industry and what could and couldn't be popular and who could and couldn't be popular, because she came from, Barbados, and there's not a lot of famous people that are coming from the Caribbean necessarily outside of maybe the Dominican Republic. And the image that you have really of the Caribbean is just the Dominican Republic. She gave an image to Barbados, and she gets honored for that as well. I think a few weeks ago, they gave her some sort of honorary like recognition for her contribution to her country. So you know what I mean? Like she's very into standing at the forefront of whatever she's doing. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think singing was just a part of that. And it was a way for her to do that. And she's meant to do so much more. And she's actually meant to have different careers. So, she has Neptune right next to her midheaven. So, that could mean that she's good in art related careers, whether that's acting or even singing, music. But it could also mean that choosing a career could be like a nebulous experience for her. Like maybe it takes time for her to realize what is that one career, or she'll never have one career, but what's going to be the most prominent. And it may or may not be singing. And her midheaven, which is the part of the chart that's at the top part of the chart, it's like that thick line if you ever look at your natal chart, and it's in Capricorn. And that is the sign of the entrepreneur. That's also the sign of somebody that, is a leader, somebody that might even work in government. Like not enough people talk about this, but I could easily see Rihanna, maybe not now, but like in years to come, getting more involved in politics, because she is actually very humanitarian. And I remember when the pandemic first started, I mean, that was her focus. Like she was, donating to charities, getting involved in how to help people during the pandemic. And that wasn't you didn't really hear about that as much, but it was happening. And I remember somebody once asked her, when are you, the question that they always ask her, like every day, it seems like, when are you coming out with a new album? She was like, there's a pandemic. Like I'm saving people right now. Like she was just like, what are you?
Good for her. And she always does that. That's something else. She has Mercury in Aquarius. Like she has cutting words. She doesn't give a crap about like what people are thinking when the words come out of her mouth. And there's another famous one that somebody asked her like, hey, when are you going to get a husband, or when are you going to get a man? She's like, I don't need a man. Like I'm into myself. I'm fixing myself. You know what I'm saying? And like, or someone else asked her, what do you do when you get upset or sad? Like a famous meme that they always replay. And she's just like, first of all, what's the point of being sad?
Yeah.
Such a Mercury in Aquarius. Freaking
words to say, right? Like Aquarius, they just kind of tell it like it is, or they think about things in a very straightforward way, like non-emotional, very.
But you know what? It's also very down to earth. I think that placement is the most down to earth Mercury that there is. Even more so than maybe a Mercury Taurus, just because they're able to express the human element of emotion in a very cutting way, without hurting your feelings so much as making you realize, oh, that was dumb. Like, why am I asking her that? Like, and it's very, very down to earth. They think about the humanitarian aspect of how they can improve people's lives. You know what I mean? Like, it's very cool position.
Yeah, absolutely. And then her Pluto is in good aspect with her midheaven. So that could mean, that being in power is something that she could definitely achieve in her career. So that could mean being in power, like being a CEO, or that could mean being in power, being a politician. Like, I don't know, but she's very Aquarian in her feel, even though she is a Pisces sign. So I think part of her, I could see her being a politician, but part of being a politician is like playing the game and like following the structure and the rules. And that's not Rihanna. So I think she would be better suited, or would more likely want to be a humanitarian, or, helping humanity in a way where it's very influential, but she's not like playing like the politician, like the fake politician role type of her. She's just too,
no, she would never fake it.
Honest. Yeah, she's not. Yeah, she's just not fake. So
I love that. I love that she has such a strong Aries, all these planet placements, because she is who she is. Like, we definitely did an analysis of Britney Spears, and that was like, she's not all there. Not that she's crazy, but I'm saying like it's not all as it seems. Like, there's a private and there's a public Britney.
Yes, yeah.
But this one's like, she's got her private life and that's hers. She owns that. And outside of that, she's showing you what she wants to show you, but she's real. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's very, very, very real and raw, and the type of person who will put you in your place just as easily as she'll take care of you, So
yeah, for sure. I think she's very real. I think the only thing that she maybe does hide a lot is like her emotions. That could be a whole episode in and of itself, but I think she's probably more emotional than she gives off. But it's very buried in her chart and just in her being. But yeah, she's meant to be an entrepreneur. She's meant to be a chameleon as far as like the different things she does in her career. The one that definitely sticks out is that she's meant to be a leader. She's meant to run the show, and that is what she's doing right now. And she's meant to do things according to her values. So it's like her part of fortune. So what makes her happy and successful is in Taurus in the second house. So Taurus and the second house are both aligned. They're both about money. They're both about having true values. And that's what's made her successful. She came out with a lingerie line. It was, for women of all body types. She came out with a makeup line. She wanted to make it a line that was good for women of color, and that really made sense for them. Her most successful music was when she took the reins and like really showed her. So she's meant to be her true self, and that's what makes her money, and it's worked for her. So sure. As far as what Rihanna's meant to do, yeah, I think it is beauty. A lot of her chart shows that she has a strong focus on beauty and making money off of it. The interesting thing is that the ruler of her 10th house, which represents her ideal career, has no connection to the ruler of her second house or the 6th house, which means that how she makes money in her day-to-day job, they're connected, but what she ideally wants to do in her career is not. So that could mean that, she's good at her day-to-day job right now, could be being the CEO of like beauty and lingerie brands, and sometimes being a singer, and that's what's made her money. But maybe her ideal career is something different that we haven't even seen, and she hasn't been able to do that because it hasn't been the time, or maybe she has been more focused on building her empire. So she can do the other things that she wants to do down the road, almost similar to how she started with singing, because that allowed her to become popular and have a brand, which then allowed her to come up with, Fenty Beauty and, and her lingerie line and whatnot. And so maybe those things she's been doing will give her the platform to do what she's meant to do next. And that next thing might be her ideal career. So it'll be interesting to see what it is. But it's something where she's establishing structure, maybe building a bigger empire, maybe getting more involved in humanitarian work, in politics.
You're going to laugh, but I always imagined, like, looking at her chart, I'm imagining someone who is going to be on a humanitarian level, like a game changer. Yeah. Like, just like she established maybe other things, like she might establish a foundation to help children get educated, in Barbados, or, all throughout the Caribbean. Or she might be someone who starts a fund to help people learn how to do certain skills, whether they're skills for music or skills for finance or fashion, even, in general, learning skills. I also see someone who's very into changing the political game. You know what I'm saying? Making people more motivated to maybe go out and vote, maybe participate in the political arena. Even though she hasn't really had a political streak, I would say that that's going to change probably by the end of the transit of Saturn, probably when Chiron meets Chiron when her Chiron natal has a transit Chiron over it, which would be in Gemini. And she sort of overcomes that fear that she has, because there is a fear of communication. There's a fear of what her thoughts are, and sort of like maybe fully embracing her identity, her wants, maybe even the career aspect. Like, can I do what I want to do? You know what I'm saying? And so she's been defying that every time and healing that Chiron wound. But maybe the ultimate expression is going to be when she finally does the work in politics, which her her 10th house indicates that she's somebody who could be really good at in a political realm or in a humanitarian way. And just running a company. Maybe she starts her own label or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are different things. She just has to get to the point where she feels fully confident in her ability to overcome her own insecurity about it, because she's a good communicator. She's good at what she does. She's got that Midas touch with Jupiter in the first house. Like, a lot of people don't get that opportunity and placement. They struggle to find what they really like. They struggle to find what they're good at. And probably the reason why it's hard for her is she's good at everything. She could probably do anything she wants.
And that's what a midheaven in Capricorn will give you. She can do anything. So it's like, that's the thing, because you could be successful, but then it could be a curse, because it's like, what do I do when I can do it all? Right. To have. She can really do it all. So yeah, that's Rihanna has these layers that she has to push. She's been pushing through, and she has in her chart, like you mentioned, she has the Gemini Chiron, so wounds around communication. Her Mercury is also in retrograde, which is really interesting, considering you probably wouldn't think that with how upfront she is in communicating, but maybe with certain things, she's afraid to let it out. Like maybe the certain things she thinks or wishes she could say. She also has Pluto retrograde. So that can manifest in different ways. It could make her explosive emotionally, but it could also maybe have a fear of her own power. Like she's definitely a very powerful person. So coming in terms with how she communicates, how she thinks, what does her power look like? Those are all things that, like you mentioned, she might be getting over in the next few years, especially becoming a mom. Like, that may also help her feel empowered of like being able to do this. This is one of her goals in life. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see the Rihanna that will, the Rihanna of the next few years. She'll probably continue to surprise us, and whatever
she'll definitely continue to surprise us.
Yeah,
there's no doubt in my mind.
And whatever she puts her mind to,
that's the only thing that I would agree.
And whatever she puts her mind to, she succeeds and does it with flying colors. So speaking of karmic, Rihanna has had a lot of notable relationships. Her latest one with asaprocky, that's leading to parenthood for the both of them. But, she's also dated, Chris Brown. Drake has sort of been nebulous there, like boyfriend, maybe not, I don't know, admirer, whatever the case may be. She also dated that billionaire, Hassan Jamel or whatever his
which she dated during her Saturn return. So
so he was a karmic.
That was karmic.
That was karmic. That's the thing. Her chart shows that she's meant to have these karmic relationships. They don't last, and they can be very difficult, but they teach her something. And it's interesting. So I didn't realize that. So that relationship was during her Saturn return. So it taught her something, and then once her Saturn return was over, it was like, okay, lesson learned, on to the next, or on to being, Libra is on her 7th house. So being in a relationship is actually something that she very much desires. But, getting to a relationship is difficult. She has her Venus in Aries. Venus is not really at home in Aries. So that can make her very, I guess when it comes to love and things like that, she either draws in egotistical people, or like people that are, very reckless, or she may be that way in relationships. So either way, that can be really difficult. And her in the 12th house. So that brings like karmic love. Pluto is also in her 7th house, and Pluto is retrograde. So that's going to lead most likely to power struggles in relationships, but also karmic situations in relationships. So she's just somebody that in her chart was destined to have these tougher relationships. But, you know, her and asaprocky seem to be doing well. They're having a baby together. She's known asaprocky for a while. They were friends, and then it turned into something more down the line. So, I mean, I think what some people are wondering is, you know, what about asaprocky was different than these other, you know, relationships that she had in the past? And are Rihanna and asaprocky a good match? Like, they go the distance? What are your thoughts on
Well,
that?
my thoughts on the Sinistry is she's got it together. She's got it together. She's not interested in somebody she has to babysit. She's not interested in someone who is going to bring out that negative, you know, Venus and Aries energy in her. Because that's the biggest thing with Pluto in Scorpio is you can either learn from who you've attracted that's causing the power struggle, or you can continue to repeat the pattern until you learn, because that's really what Pluto's here to do. It's here to teach us something about our soul's needs, you know? So, and that power struggle between, you know, her lovers and herself, whether it's healed or not, it seems asaprocky hits on all the notes. So my assessment then, oh, that's even better. Their moons are square, so they challenge each other. There's more of that symbiotic relationship. Like, she's got her moon in Aries, so she knows how to start things. He's got his moon in Cancer, so he kind of knows how to finish things, how to help her, you know, heal her emotions, process emotion, because that's something that's hard for her as well. Just being able to process it. So when you have someone in your corner that's supporting you in that way, it's much easier, you know? So that's the kind of balance that I think they have for each other. He also has Jupiter in Gemini, so it's kind of hitting on her Chiron in that way that he's sort of expanding her ability to heal and communicate, maybe even the announcement itself, because she's a very private person. So he kind of maybe pushed her to express herself and share her joy with others, you know. I've never heard her announce even like maybe her work, but not necessarily her private life, you know. So that's something very big. We also have his Mars hitting Venus, so that gives us some connection. The way that she wants to receive love, he sort of gives love. So this is like a good way for them to connect with each other. He also has Mercury in Libra, and her Mercury is in another air sign in Aquarius. So they're able to communicate much easier than maybe someone who might have had a more emotional Mercury in an emotional house in a water sign. So that sign connection makes it a lot easier for them to communicate with each other. And of course, he's sort of had his Saturn return right before her. So it's like they're both over the hardest parts of their young lives, and they're embracing this new experience as parents together. And it could just be like they're really, really good friends. Like, this is an established relationship. This is a relationship not based in violence like she experienced with Chris Brown, not based in, you know, sort of this misogynistic cultural experience she might have had with her previous boyfriend who was from a more conservative culture. This could be very culturally similar, very culturally dynamic for them. He enjoys her culture and she enjoys his culture. And that's something else that could have been important to her, where her son is raised, how her child is raised. I'm guessing it's a boy, right? Isn't that weird?
Yeah, I know. I noticed you've used a lot of like,
But she's got a lot of male energy in her
really.
chart, so I'm assuming it's going to be a boy. But you know, with Mercury in a male sign, Venus in a male sign, Moon in a male sign, it's a lot of energy for that to be, you know, a boy. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. And then, of course, he has his own wounds. He has his own issues that he's definitely, I think, overcome. And he's very, very generous. Like, I see Jupiter in Gemini. That makes a very generous person. That makes someone who's very in tune with the way they communicate with others and how they think. And they're thinking not on a grand scale, but they're definitely thinking on an individual level. How can I really share what I have, you know, created and generated? Let me see if I have any more notes that I haven't said. Yep. I think that's it. Like those are my main points for their synastry. That strong Venus Mars connection. I mean, that's probably the basis, the rock of their relationship. And then everything else is just extra. Like they get along with each other. They're very kind to each other. And I personally think like the most important thing to her in a father figure for her child is someone who can be friends with her, even if they're not together. So will they be together forever? I don't necessarily think so. I don't see any indications. But if they're going to decide, it's probably going to be, let's see, when will the North Node, maybe in a few years, though, when the child is older, they'll decide if they're going to be more, in tune with each other to be able to get married. But I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think, they have a lot of good, like, air and fire placements. What I like about asaprocky that probably made him stand out or makes him different than the other exes that she's had is that he seems very balanced. Like the earth element is the weakest for him, but that's okay because Rihanna has enough of that. Like she's like a mogul, like, and he is too, he's a rapper, he's a model. I think he has his own creative agency. So he's done a lot as well, but it's not so much in the forefront as Rihanna. He's more like laid back with all the success that he's had. But he's definitely achieved a lot for himself and been through a lot. But he also has he has like a balanced air energy to his chart, which is where Rihanna's lacking. So Rihanna's very water, very fire, very earth. So she's very successful and grounded. She's very fiery and takes initiative. She's very emotional, even if you don't see it. But the logical, the being able to weigh both sides, like that kind of aspect, she has it to maybe some degree, but it's not her strength. And I think that's maybe where asaprocky comes in. Like he may bring the level-headedness to the relationship and like supports her and just lets her be her. Like, I don't think there's really I haven't really looked deep into that aspect of their synastry or whatnot, but I don't think there would be any like power dynamics at play. Like, I don't think he needs to feel threatened by her. I don't think he wants to control her. He just wants Rihanna to be Rihanna, right? And just kind of support that. And I think maybe in the past when Rihanna was younger, she probably, because of her Aries energy, went for people that were very fiery or were very powerful. I guess she's had that with Chris Brown and this billionaire. And I guess what she's had to realize is that she doesn't need to go for that with a significant other. She has enough of that in herself. Like she doesn't need to find that outside of herself, right? So asaprocky, he doesn't really have anything to prove. Like he seems very level-headed. He also, probably doesn't need to be like the head honcho in the relationship. It could be a very like equal relationship for him, maybe taking the back seat in certain areas. And that's probably something that she's never had before. And that is probably very refreshing for her. And the fact that they've been friends for years, right? So, they have that foundation. I think, what will be a challenge in their relationship if it were to continue long-term is that, Rihanna is very fiery and she also has no opposition aspects in her chart. So that means her relating to somebody else. Like she relates to society, like she helps society.
Yeah, she can do that. Absolutely.
Relating to somebody on an individual level, not her strength. Like she has Venus in a fire sign. She has her moon in a fire sign. She has her moon buried in the 12th house. She has no oppositions in her chart. So her being able to see herself in relation to another is not her strength. Could she learn that? For sure. Like I also have that in my chart and I've been able to learn that more. So it's all up to her as to whether she wants to make that adjustment to have more flow in her relationships. The other thing as well is their Juno placement. So Juno is the asteroid that represents what one needs for a long-term relationship. So Rihanna's Juno is in Aries. So Aries is a very like independent kind of sign. So what she needs in her relationship is the ability to do her thing. Like she's devoted if she's, I don't know, like she'll probably be devoted in a relationship. I think she wants to be in a relationship, but wanting and being able to do all the things that a relationship requires, that's a different thing. And so, being able to be committed, she doesn't have that combined 2 is 1 Scorpio vibe. Like she needs to be able to do her thing. She needs to be able to have her moments of independence. So
her individual success is very important.
Yeah.
I think she's got Uranus and Saturn almost like at the same degree in her 10th house. Like it's like 0 degrees, so it's initiating things. She wants to be recognized for what she does. She, even if it's outside of the things that she's been doing before, she doesn't want to have like her husband or her boyfriend be the reason why she's famous. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that type of energy.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then asaprocky, his Juno is in Leo. So Leo, he probably wants to be, he probably needs romance in a long-term relationship, which I guess Rihanna can offer, but also with Leos, they need adoration. They need to be adored. All the time or often, and that can look different for different people, but I can see that being a potential challenge, like maybe he needing more attention than Rihanna can give at certain points, and then adding to the fact that she is running an empire, it's only going to get bigger, however that looks like, and she's becoming a mother, so her time will need to be taken for that, and that's
where I was going to add, like, how is he going to be as a father? And that Leo placement is very tough on their children. The Juno and Leo placement, very tough on their children. The energy and interest that they need is more intense. And so I think that that's going to be a source of contention between, whether it's a rivalry between the son and the father, or the father sort of wanting to set boundaries. But I just wanted to add a little note about the similarities between Chris Brown and her new beau, Ace.
whoa.
Just interesting to see because Chris Brown has Jupiter in Gemini, same as ASAP, but he's got Mercury conjunct. So Mercury in Gemini conversations versus Mercury in Libra. You know what I mean? Mercury in Libra has a more tempered approach to their communication. Then Chiron is literally only 3 degrees or 4 degrees different from asaprocky. So it's like that difference in those degrees, because it's in the earlier degrees versus the middle degrees. Then you have the fact that Rihanna and Chris Brown have the same Neptune, Saturn, and Uranus placement in Capricorn. Of course, his are retrograde, hers are direct. So it's like, how does that dynamic play into it? But her Mars is in Sagittarius, and his Mars is in Cancer. So she's about exploring the world. He's more about settling down, and his motivation's more in the home, especially since it's in the 12th
for who?
house.
For ASAP?
For Chris Brown.
For Chris Brown. Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So there's a lot of little things, but the difference is you have Sun in Taurus and strong Taurus with Chris Brown. And then, of course, for asaprocky, he's totally all over the place with his chart. Planets are all over his astrology. There's no buckets or anything like that where really focus his energy, so he can give a lot more dynamically than Chris Brown. And of course, I don't want to compare, because of course that was a very tumultuous relationship. I'm not saying like one is better than the other or anything. I'm just saying how similar those charts are in ways that are supportive of her. There's something that she's looking for in her partnerships. Both men reflect that, and she's able to find someone maybe more evolved than where Chris Brown was at the time when everything was happening in their lives. And probably exploring someone who is more mature, someone who is in a better place in his life, and definitely someone who's more generous, because there's no Mercury affecting his Jupiter, making him think about where he's putting his wealth, or where he's experiencing or expanding his mind, or distracting him rather from where he's expanding. So
And with Rihanna as well, she has her Juno in the 12th house. So that means she will have karmic long-term relationships. Like maybe a part of her life is that she doesn't stay with somebody forever, but she has these long-term relationships, and each of them teach her a lesson that prepares her for whatever's next. So I think with her and asaprocky, will they stand the test of time? Who knows? I think their friendship will stand the test of time. I think they have a very solid connection in that way. And now they will be parents. And they definitely do have they probably have quite a bit of chemistry. I mean, their Venus, Mars are all in fire signs. So there's definitely some chemistry there. But I think the one challenge will be the adoration or the love that asaprocky will need, and whether Rihanna can or is willing to give that for the long haul. She may decide to do that, or she may not. So I think that's where the free will comes in, like we can't, there's some transits that can maybe predict that, but at the end of the day, it's like Rihanna's choice if she's going to do that.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So
it's
very interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting. One thing we can all agree on is that this is a very interesting time for Rihanna. I think we're all excited to see what this baby will be. The fact that it's likely going to be more famous than even she is, or just as famous, is just wild. Because
that's my prediction, because of how her chart looks. Because the mother's chart tells us a lot about her children. You know what I'm saying? And so, is he going to be superstar famous in the same thing that she does? I don't know, but he's definitely going to be very popular, maybe a public figure, some sort of public standing. Maybe he'll take up her humanitarian work. Maybe he will inherit all of her wealth, which she will multiply, and that will make him famous. I don't know, but I definitely see that in her chart. She's going to have a child very Venus in nature, very supportive, financially supported, and stable. Probably someone with a lot of earth sign energy. So we'll see. Well, I definitely think around the eclipse season is when the baby is going to be born, just from the way the pictures that are out. But we'll see. And I'm also predicting it's a boy. So you heard it here first, guys.
You heard it here first.
I just love astrology because there's things that you can really look into and look at the patterns in other people. I've seen other people with the same placements that have had boys. I've seen other people with the same experiences that she's had that have evolved and attracted better partners as they evolved. So, it's really interesting to see that.
We've had some predictions on the show, like you predicted when Machine Gun Kelly and Megan Fox were about to get engaged, around that time frame. I think we predicted something about Adele as well. So these things happen, and it's just like, we're not necessarily psychic, but it's just like the patterns, right?
Yeah.
So time will tell how it all comes into fruition, but it's an exciting time for Rihanna. She's achieving, one of her dreams, and it'll be exciting to see how this baby is.
Yes, I'm so excited for her.
Yeah.
As someone who also wants a child, this is such a nice time. She's at the perfect age. She's not too young. She's not too old. It's just a nice time. And I think it's one of many because of where the placement of her Venus is, very and her moon together. So very lucky when it comes to motherhood, as Venus is a sign of, luck as well. And I think she has a day chart. So where's Jupiter again? Yep. Jupiter is right in the same sign as her moon. So again, two of the most lucky planets in astrology in the same sign as her moon. She's really going to enjoy motherhood. It's going to be very rewarding to her, very fruitful. Maybe she even starts a baby line, who knows? Everything she loves, whatever she's interested in, she likes to do. So who knows?
Yeah, that'd be great. I think people would love that. Mm-hmm. All right. So that concludes this episode. I hope you all enjoyed it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And I guess we'll see what happens, and and how Rihanna continues to evolve and continually shows us to show the real sides of who she is. All right. For sure. All right. We will see you So we will see you all in the next episode.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.